Well, hello there, humans, to be earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough to be doing it too. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Bushka on Blitz's People's Choice Review. The people have spoken. I put a big poll up on the YouTube community tab and had 4,100 votes so far on which tank to review next. And this thing was the Runaway Hero. A lot of people, 38% in fact, wanted to see this thing pumping on the stereo. The E75, the Tier 9 German Heavy. There's a bit of a backstory to the E75. It used to be really, really good, and then it was really, really good for a while, and now it's really, really good. And that's the true backstory behind it. Nothing much special about it. It is just a freaking amazing tank. There's a lot that goes into it, and I will talk you through it. I will let you know exactly why it does so well. But suffice to say that when you've got really good armor and fairly good mobility, you can make a living as a heavy, heavy human. There's also going to be a little section on this where I talk to you about angling. Angling is the very much the spirit of the E75. Without angling, it's just an underutilized big block of German steel. It really makes its money from angling your tank. Now, before I go any further, there is a video up, a tutorial series where I talk, if you're new to the game, you should absolutely watch it, where I go through hull down, angling, camo, all those kind of things. You need to watch that. It's a must watch if you're on channel and you don't know what you're doing in Blitz. It'll give you a big old hand. The armor profile is pretty spectacular. You can get 310 millimeters of penetration required on your upper plate, just looking dead set straight at someone. And you can easily turn that into 350 or 360 if you get the right angle. It is a side scraping tank par excellence and can both hold its own at tier 10 with any of the tier 10 heavies, as well as completely bully boy the guys at tier 8. And that's a really important part of the tank, because the ability to go into a tier 8 game and just drive forward and be confident that if you know how to angle and you know how to face hug and you know how to side scrape, you're going to belt everyone, makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. Now, what I want to do here is show you the E75 in Armour Inspector, and below it, I'll show you some video of me wiggling. Now this, friends, humans, gentlemen, lovely people that you are, is the E75 from the front. The raw numbers on the armor are not that exceptional, to be honest. It's like 130, 160 on your upper plate, 120 on your sides, you know, like blah, 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 blah. It's not that amazing. Where the magic really happens is in the slope of the armor. Now, if you slope armor, the effective armor rises up. That is the distance that the shell has to travel across it to actually penetrate. So 100 millimeters angled up becomes 120 millimeters, and 120 millimeters angled up becomes 200, and the 160 on the front angled at like 60 degrees becomes 310, which is pretty freaking special. And if you can find a hill to move backwards and forwards on, then wow, it becomes really amazing. And this is the E75 viewed from the perspective of the Object 704, a tier 9 TD with the much famed BL10 riding on the bonnet. Now, 120 millimeters from the side is next to nothing. It's rather pointless, but you get it angled up slightly like that, and it's a flat auto bounce zone that even an Object 704's gun cannot go through easily at any kind of range. In fact, you can keep it angled up to like 25, 30 degrees without losing that auto bounce zone. And that is where the magic really, really happens. So what you've got to remember is if you run into like a tier 8 heavy tank, like a T32 or something along those lines, you are driving in basically a giant red tomato. And if you wiggle like this, you are going to make the armor profile very, very tough to pen. You'll catch shots on your tracks, you'll make people take longer to aim, and the longer they take to aim means they're firing less and their damage per minute numbers are dropping, and you're taking less damage, and then you just turn around and pump them. And that's the theory behind it. And if they're really, really low pen tanks like a T32 and you're up close and personal, then it's, hello, big red tomato, I can't pen you, I'm just going to have a little bit of a rage and bite through my iPad, which quite often happens, if I'm being honest. So let's look at some gameplay again, and we can talk more about how this happens in actuality. I'm going to drive around this side of the flank. Now, it bears reminding that I was very, very aggressive in the E75 on the North American server while I was running it. I ran it at, let's have a look at the numbers here. 47 games at 72%, but a paltry 2,262 damage total on average. It's not really a damage machine. It soaks up a lot of damage though, and it's super aggressive, and there's a lot of tanks that quite simply can't pen you, and that means you're able to offer great areas of denial. Now, you saw how aggressive I was there. This is a tier 9 game. Again, most of these games are going to be alone because it doesn't need help carrying. It really doesn't. And there's a whole big bunch of tier 9 tanks, TDs, a Panther 2 who's got decent enough pen, but they all struggle. And you can see where I was talking before about getting in a ditch and moving it backwards and forwards. That makes it a whole lot harder to penetrate and raises the armor profile again. And you can see that Panther 2 is firing HE. He's got Buckley's chance of penning me anywhere else. And I've been super aggressive, pushed the caves, stopped 3 tanks dead in their tracks, and have given the team basically a chance to hold that right flank and push around. And this is a big part of heavy tanking. And this is one of when you look at your stats in a heavy tank, quite often they won't be quite the number that you would find in a light or a medium tank. They don't have the huge raw DPM numbers and everything. But what they have is that beautiful area of deniability around them, area of denial, zone denial. I'm getting there. It's kind of like having a big center in basketball standing in front of the ring, and you're like, you can have all the shots outside, but if you come in here, I'm going to block you. And that's exactly what the E75 does. It pushes up into an area like that, caves, and then starts working people over. And I'm now angling towards this Yag Tiger. And the Yag Tiger wants to put shots at me, and I just wait till he starts turning around, and then I push really hard, hot, and heavy. Because despite the fact that the E75 has a monstrously large armor profile and is a very, very heavy tank, it can still clock out at 40 kilometers per hour, which is an awful lot of kilometers per hour, you know, and we like kilometers per hour. We're big fans. I'm trying to save that T28 prototype there so that even if I go down versus the Object 704, and you're going to see me angle again, and we catch it on the tracks, that little bit of a wiggle, that little bit of a jiggle, it all counts towards making shots miss. And you're going to have to start doing that if you're driving one of these German heavies. There's a beautiful consistency in this line too, from the Tiger 2 to the E75 to the E100. They are tanks that share very, very good common characteristics, but at the same time are a little bit different every time further up. And I enjoy that. Now I'm going to show you a few games here. They're not successes. Some of them are less so than others. But for all that, they really highlight what the 75 can bring to the table. Now, I'm pushing so hard here, right? There's a T30 there, there's a Glacial, I've got people coming around the back. I pushed up here in the first place and got stymied, and then the rest of the team folded around the right edges. And I'm just angling into that T30 all the time. And I'm trying to stop him from shooting the guy behind me because I know I'm the best chance that the team has of bouncing that shot. And I know that whoever is behind me, they're not allowed to bounce a T30 anytime soon. I've dropped adrenaline. I've bounced a couple of shots from the T30 and the Glacial. I'm finally going to get the kill on this bloke. Angling up again, I catch it on the track. I'm now pushing around really, really quickly so that I can clear this Glacial and then turn and start angling to the next Muppet who's going to come streaming around the corner. And you know the equation though, I just don't have the hit points and I've run out of humans. So although I'm capable of making a fantastic last stand, I'm going to go down. Swinging for all that, I'm still going to go down. But it just goes to show how effective this tank is in brawls. And that's something that you don't always expect from a heavy. They are quite simply not very mobile. Most heavy tanks lack the traverse numbers to really get to grips and brawl with other tanks like mediums and lights and the like. But the E75, not the T34, the E75 isn't one of those heavy tanks. For a tank this big, it gets 40 kilometers an hour out. It can get up to about 34 degrees of traverse. And while that is not going to save you from a circle of death, or it might, I don't know, depending on the tank that's attacking you, it is enough to let the tank bring its goodies to bear. Now, that big armor profile, that 128mm KWK L45, that is what you want to be putting into the battle. it is of no use to anyone at the back. Now, I drive this tank pretty aggressively. I drove it to the middle here, up to the top, and then I came back around and dropped down to face up with this IS-8, and now I've seen an opportunity to move around to the left-hand side, and I'm just hoping to get there. Until I do, I'm going to side scrape. I just want to see what this E75 is doing. If he's going to give me a... Oh, he does. He gives me a free shot. So we take that, then we bounce, and then we start turning around, and we're going to go and help out over here on the left. Now, one of the beautiful things about the E75 is the closer you get to it, the harder it is to pen. The angle kind of has this tipping point for efficiency on the front. It's like an arrow. And if it's up really close, and you're going to see what I mean here, see how it's very, very sharp? If you're on the same level as an E75 and he pushes all the way into you, and all you've got is upper plate, and you can't get through that upper plate, then you are in a big bunch of strife. And you see again there, that lower plate, it's really tough. It's a lovely tank for brawling and for doing this with. You've just got to watch the facing on the gun, the area around the turret. It can be, if left flat, it can be really, really nasty. Now, I lost my fair share of games in this tank. I'm not making any pretense at being the world's greatest heavy driver, but they were always pretty much lost from the front, and they were lost going down like swinging. Like, I wasn't out of punch. Like, when the game finished, I was still right there in the thick of it, throwing leather and having a grand old time. And I must say that it is a refreshing tank to drive in that it really can do the job. It's not some games you can be a heavy, other games you've got to be a little bit quieter. It's just be a bloody heavy and see if they can deal with it. And you can see even a tank like the T95, if you angle up correctly and side scrape and pull in, you can do all kinds of lovely things. And I'm going to try and help this IS-5 out here by clearing the IS-8. And I'm still angling and side scraping and putting shots in. I'm just running out of humans to help, really. That's just something that happens. And it's not because they didn't want to win. We just got beat by the other team. And there's an Indian behind me. I don't know what the Indian's doing, but this T32, kudos to him for actually penning that shot. This is not an easy tank for a T32 to pen, by the way. The upper plate is verboten, and the lower plate, if he gets me and I'm at a strange angle, is completely never going to get done. And I love the fact that the T32 follows that up with a very, very aggressive move here to try and put some damage into me. I think he's trying to land on me, and did he hit me again? That's gorgeous. That is some serious... And watch, angling to that one, angling to that one. The Pershing is trying to find somewhere to pen, and he eventually gets a shot in, but he had to use Premo and only got 198. Look at this. And I still get another bounce before the Jag Panther 2 comes around and puts HE into me to clear me. Like, the thing is a beast. It is so tough. And if you're good at angling, you can really make hay. Now I'm going to drive, a little trick for the E75. See me driving upwards and down on that little slope there, just taking that. That means that IS-6's angle changes dramatically, and he probably hits the track instead of actually getting his pen. That's something you can do anywhere in any tank, but it particularly works well in tanks like the 75 or ones that have very, very sharp upper and lower glacis and the difference between them. I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to show a little bit more, and then a final game on Canyon. And look where I am. I mean, one of the beautiful things about driving heavy tanks aggressively is you drag the team with you. People don't like being the first one there, but what they hate even more is the thought that they're going to miss out on damage. So if you can take a heavy tank up and you put some damage into someone, people will basically sell their own mother to get up close enough to put the kill shot in. It's fantastic. So when you push up, they push up with you. Now, that's generally the case, apart from when you get three numpties like this, sitting right at the back of the map for the first 2 minutes and not doing a whole lot to help out. But God bless them, they decide to come off the hill. Well, at least one of them does. And I don't have to push in here against all these tier 10s on my Pat Malone. Now, there's an IS-7 here on the right. There's an Object 268. Turret traverse, only 19.19 degrees, fully buffed. That is probably the weakest part of the tank, I find. And that's why that Object 268 got away. Again, turning into the shot, being completely straight and then turning as they're about to take the shot. You will eat so many shots on your tracks doing that. It's absolutely crazy. He was over 500. I was never going to roll that on. Oh, look at this. School for the Gifted, Bushka. Well done. This is a lovely game. Not so much but because I do massive damage in it. It's a tier 10 game. And the reason I like it is because it shows you that the E75 has just enough mobility to be relevant and to change its direction quickly enough to angle to multiple targets. So let's talk about the traverse numbers and everything quickly before I forget. So 33.94 degrees of traverse with all the bells and whistles on your tracks, 19.19 degrees of traverse on your turret. You have a 40 kilometer an hour top speed. There was a point in time where you used to have to grind 3 engines with this tank, and the middle engine was torture, and they removed it, thank God, which was a really, really good move. It loves areas like this where you've got soft cover with a rock. There's an STB1 who drives me a little bit nuts on this map. He gets to the far right flank. No one holds C, which is pretty rare. Normally on this map, you end up with all your TDs sitting in spawn, but kudos to all the TDs in this game. They got off their asses and actually had a crack, so thumbs up for you guys. And 183 in fact is in a terrible spot, and I push up here to try and give him a hand. That 62A is not to be put off. Now this is the spot that I really, really like for the E75. It's not a good spot, but you can see the 704 does a great play by him. He pushes forward, so to help him out, I drive forward to actually make sure I'm guarding his flank. He pushes around to the 62A. I catch another shot from that M48 pattern. I'm now looking for the 62A to come around, and it's just able to move quickly enough. There's that STB1 again. Oh my God, he was torture. How about this gun? It's still able to get shots in at that range. God bless it. Dispersion on the gun, 0.349, 4.5 second aim time. It's a lot like the IS-8's gun, the M62, which is a great gun. Only you've got heaps and heaps of armour, and the IS-8 has heaps and heaps of mobility. It's a real nice definition between the two tanks, that they've got very similar guns, but very, very different play styles. And I'm now into that 62A. I'm then going to traverse straight across, bounce another shot from the STB1, and we're angling up in case that M48 points to us. Just enough traverse to get the job done. That's the whole reason I put just that little bit there. And then I'm going to go up in Cap B. Again, driving it not passively at all. Like, a tier 10 game, a lot of guns out there, a lot of people to put shots in, and we're doing our level best to keep the gun in the game, keep it singing, bounce shots, and use our hit point pool for the betterment of mankind, which I think is a testament to the tank. If all we snap one in, love it, can't get enough of it. If all the heavy tanks in the game were this much fun to drive, you'd find a lot more people driving heavy fuel. Obviously, there's been some big changes to heavies at Tier 7, which I would expect will bring people back to the fold there. So, just going to have to wait to see how that all angles out. For those of you who don't know, they have limited TDs to 4 per team in games now, in regular battles, which is still an insanely large amount, but there you go. Not much else to say. E75, brilliant tank. Buy it, drive it, enjoy it, love it. Tell them Bushka sent you, and you'll probably get a 10% discount on your purchase price, or at least get all the on-road costs paid for. I'm Bushka on Blitz. Stick around. Lots of streams and everything coming up every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, NA time, 5:30 PM East Coast, 8:30 PM West Coast, and once a week at 8 PM Wednesday night, Central European time, we stream extremists, and the count-ins are on the Tuesday for NA and on the Wednesdays for EU. Look after yourselves, and until next time, stay safe on the battlefield.